Good morning and welcome to another episode of Like It or Leave It, even though it's not really the morning, but we're sticking with it because that's our intro over here. I'm actually doing something a little different today. I'm recording this one the night before. We'll still have it uploaded the day after, so this one will come out on Wednesday. Simply due to schedule conflicts, this is how we had to do it today. Got a lot of stuff I want to talk about. Finally going to be able to touch on a couple baseball topics, which is something I've really wanted to do the last couple shows. We got the NBA playoffs, the Cavaliers, because that's like the only team to really talk about right now in basketball. And I never like to call them rants, but I got a very strong opinion on some of the things I heard about Adrian Peterson yesterday. So we're going to get into all of that. First, one of the baseball topics I wanted to talk about. A lot of times, whether it's in real life or in sports, we happen to fall into this tendency to either make too much of a myth or too less of a myth. And one of the big myths in baseball is, well, the Rockies are going to score a lot of runs, but it's only because they play at Coors Field. And I mean, shit, my 7-year-old son playing Little League, he could hit a home run at Coors Field. And I'm not denying the validity of what Coors Field does. It's like Texas. There is some airstream in Texas that George Bush set up, and I mean balls just literally get up in there and they fly out. Thanks, George. And in Coors, less altitude, the ball flies more. That's fine. I get that. But let's not act like... I'm sorry, I had to pause myself for a moment. But let's not act like that disqualifies everything that happens at that ballpark or with that team. Did anybody see who has the best record in baseball right now? That team that plays in Coors Field. Those 14-6 Colorado Rockies. But wait, the Dodgers are going to win the NL West every year. They got Clayton Kershaw. They got the best staff, the best offense. They're going to do it. Biggest payroll ever. Magic Johnson. Dodgers all day. The Dodgers are at 500. Last I checked, 14-6 was better than being at 500. And I apologize. I definitely said less altitude. It's higher altitude, as I now understand why people are laughing at me. So the higher altitude of Coors Field. And the interesting thing is when you look at the Rockies, I'm going to pull up some numbers here really quick. Is everyone would think, oh, the Rockies are off to a good start. They're just being carried by their bats. They're scoring 9-10 runs a game. Well, they are scoring a lot of runs. I think they're currently second in the league in runs. But if you look at their lineup, Blackman's hitting 277, LeMahieu's hitting 295, Arenado's 325, Cargo's hitting 219, Reynolds is hitting 329. That would be their playing far above his head player. Gerardo Parro's right at 300. Trevor Story's at 181. They got a lot of guys who, despite playing in my 7-year-old can hit a home run in this ballpark, they got guys who are offensively underperforming. There is something to be said when you're just better than someone else, or your team is just better. You know, people look at the Warriors and it's like, well, of course they're going to win. They're just better at 4 out of 5 positions on a given night. They just are. If you look at the Rockies, they're just better 1 through 9 when they line up on the field every given night. You've got Nolan Arenado, Trevor Story, DJ LeMahieu, Ian Desmond /Mark when he comes back, and Mark Reynolds. In your outfield, you've got Charlie Blackmon, Gerardo Parro, and Carlos Gonzalez. You've got 5 guys on your team who can hit 30 home runs, 2 guys who can hit 40 home runs, one dude who's one of the 5 best players in the sport in Arenado, another who's a top 10 talent in the sport in Carlos Gonzalez, who's not even playing well at the moment. Imagine when he gets back to doing what he's doing, because, I'm sorry, him and Trevor Story aren't hitting under 200 for the entire season. That's just not going to happen. I made videos about the Red Sox and the Cubs earlier And it talked about why I think they're going to underperform compared to overperform or play at what they were last season. And I took the stance of position by position is either inconsistency or the unknown. The Rockies are the exact opposite. Outside of Trevor Story, who you can make a case is the unknown or the unexperienced or the not proven because he's only had the 1 year, that's where it ends. Gerardo Parra has a track record. Blackman, Cargo, Arenado, Mark Reynolds, even if it's not the greatest track record. Ian Desmond has a track record. LeMahieu has a track record. But Black has a track record, which, isn't it kind of funny? You know, NL West team gets former Padres manager, does very well. I think there's a team up north a little bit. I live in San Diego. There's Giants. Former Padres manager, Bruce Bochy, got consistency at all 9 positions. Slightly different style. They were a more pitch-first team than the Rockies are. The pitching is still so-so, even though their bullpen pitching is much better this year. I'm not going to call it and go out on a limb and say, oh, they're going to the World Series. But people need to watch out, especially because in baseball is one of the streakier sports that we have where teams have a tendency to win 9 out of 10 games and teams have a tendency to lose 9 out of 10 games. And when you fall behind, you can get steamrolled really fast in the standings. And I mean in baseball, some divisions are over a week or two after the All-Star break. And at the moment, I don't see any team catching the Rockies. Now, of course I say this, and they're getting completely destroyed at the moment, which only helps my story by the fact of the score is 15-7, and they're on the losing end. So I know what I'm talking about, guys. Promise. Sorry, I had to catch and compose myself for a second. Love baseball. Will never give away, quote unquote, my teams I root for. But watch out for them. The Rockies are going places. Not only are they going places, they're still young at the core positions. They've got pitchers who are improving and are young. And yeah, so what if your 7-year-old can hit a home run at Coors Field? So can these 20-something-year-old men. And they hit 30 to 40 of them at Coors Field. All right, let's get into some scores here. Cough on yourself first. Show confidence. Astros beat the Indians 4-2. Cubs over the Pirates 1-0. Rays beat the Orioles 2-0. The Tigers beat the Mariners, dragged them off the field, took them home, beat them again 19-9. Man, they got a lot of runs scoring today. The Nationals, we already talked about that. They're up on the Rockies 15-7 at the moment. But hey, they'll make you look real good if they come back in the final 2 innings. And the Diamondbacks beat the Padres 9-3. Just had to get that one out there. Fuck. Love doing this. All right. Another thing we do here in sports is we have this, I don't even want to call it a tendency. It's just something we do far more consistently than we should, which is we either like exciting expectance or we like boring abnormalities. Meaning, and I'm going to cite a specific series. So there was a Hawks Heat series. This is back in 08-09, I believe was the year. I could be wrong. It was the 08-09 or 09-10. And it was a 7-game series. And when you have a 7-game series in the playoffs, that's supposed to be back and forth, great games. Oh my gosh, 2 teams are so evenly matched. Not a single game was within 20 points. Every single game was bad. Every single game was a blowout. Every single game was just unwatchable. I heard someone say the other day, oh, the playoffs are really good. Really good this year. Like, have you seen the games? Like, we have Westbrook, we have Harden, we got LeBron, Paul George is playing great. I had to stop myself for a second because I almost believed him. I was almost like, yeah, the games have been pretty good. And then I went and looked at it, and I'm like, literally nothing is different than what we thought going into these playoffs. Let me show by example. In the West, Warriors swept the Blazers. Knew it was going to happen. It's not really a shocker to anyone. I mean, hell, Vegas, I think, had every game. No game was closer than 12 points on their spread. Clippers Jazz 2-2. We knew the Jazz were going to give the Clippers fits, especially after Blake Griffin got hurt, which that really shouldn't be a surprise because the Clippers have had, between Chris Paul and Blake Griffin, one of them's bound to get injured at this point. Last 3 playoffs, and I believe the playoffs before that, both were even nicked up and hurt. Someone's going to get hurt on that team. Tough series, expected. Rockets beat the Thunder 4-1. We said all year, Russell Westbrook does not have as good a team as James Harden, and that showed. What does Russell Westbrook do? He puts up a lot of shots, goes 4 for 18 in the fourth quarter. Nothing new. James Harden played okay in that series. Outside of game 1, where he was really on point, the rest of his games were so-so. Not what you would consider from what's probably going to be the MVP runner-up. Spurs Grizzlies 3-2. We knew that was going to be a tough series. Some people thought, oh, well, Tony Allen's not there, so it's going to be less. The Grizzlies just play tough. They don't do much else, but they just play tough, and they're going to bring it every single night. Boston Chicago 2-2. There was doubts about Boston being a 1 seed. Chicago was playing well, had a lot of hype going into the playoffs. Close series. And shout out, I don't want to say shout out. That sounds wrong. I'm extremely sad and sorry about the death of Isaiah Thomas's sister. But, that series, I think even with or without, has similar results. Wizards and Hawks. Wizards, we knew, were the better team going in. They're the more talented team. We knew Atlanta was the better coach team. They're the more consistent team, the more physical team. And they brought it to them. And that series is tied 2-2. Toronto, Milwaukee. Was it the way we thought we were going to get there? No. But it's still 3-2 lead Toronto. Cleveland over the Pacers, 4-0. I will raise my hand and say I got this one wrong. I thought it was going to be a better series in terms of the numbers. But once again, I fell for the boring abnormality, which is this is going to be a tough series, like 4-1, 4-2 Cleveland. It was a sweep, but it was only a 16-point sweep. And I'm going to get into that in my next segment because there's been some stuff 2 segments from now, people are talking about the Cavs, and it's absolutely driving me crazy at this point. All I'm saying is a lot of stuff happens the way we think it's going to happen. And just because you have these couple moments where it shakes it up. It's like a car accident is still a car accident. I don't really care if, I broke this far and then my girlfriend who was in the seat next to me, she went back and forth really fast and then it was boom and then we were in a car wreck. You got in a car wreck. How you got there, really doesn't change the final result. And these playoffs have been pretty ho-hum chalk. If I even had to say it, if I had to put a educated opinion out there, I'm not really educated except, check the shirt, shout out, highly educated. My boy Antonio makes the shirts. If we get a Boston Wizards in round 2, once again, the questionable 1 seed losing to the more talented team. Toronto, Cleveland. We know Cleveland's winning that series. The Warriors versus anyone. We know the Warriors are winning that series. The Rockets, Spurs. I shouldn't count the Grizzlies out, but I am. Just going to San Antonio. Then you get Golden State, San Antonio. Golden State's winning that series. Cleveland's beating whoever comes out of Washington, Boston. And then we get the three-peat. like everyone thought from day one. And yeah, have we had some exciting moments along the way with Westbrook, with Harden, with some of the stuff LeBron and the Warriors have done? Yeah. But it's still a boring abnormality, which is, despite these couple of fluke moments, we knew what we were getting. We knew what was going to happen, and it's still going to happen. I really wish I could stop coughing. Like, I used to never, and like, I mean this like wholeheartedly, I used to like never get sick, and now I feel like I'm getting sick like every other week. Like, I was at work this morning, and I like keeled over, and I'm just like, oh, I'm going to die. I'm not going to be able to do it tomorrow. I'm just going to die. Like, I felt that bad for about like a 10-minute stretch. I sat down, I just started sweating, and I'm just like, well, this is the end of me. But luckily that didn't happen. So we're still here, still enjoying ourselves, still getting to do this, live this wonderful thing called life. Don't ever forget, living life is great. Trying to find ways to interlude into different segments, and I thought that was a pretty good one. Sammy So-So. So, anyway, let me readjust this real quick. All right. Probably a lot of you that watch baseball heard Madison Bumgarner is going to be out for a couple months. You see this if you watch SportsCenter, if you watch FS1, you watch any news outlet that revolves around sports, you'll see there's usually 3 to 4 shocking injuries every year. And they're not shocking in the sense of, someone's going to get hurt, but it's always that big-time player that you're like, oh my gosh, he's going to be out for several months or most of the season or the entire season. And as a fan, I always feel for the other team. Like, I truly do. Like, when the Raiders lost their quarterback, I hate the Raiders. I truly hate them. If they went 0-16 every year, I would just laugh and I'd have a big smile on my face. Like, I would love life. But I also know as a fan, when you're finally good after so long, which I've been a Denver fan long enough to see them go, 2-14, although we're going to pass that subject up, to going to the Super Bowl. So, and if we had lost one of our key players, especially our quarterback or our best player, arguably, I'd be a little upset because then it just got taken from you. When you've got star pitchers on baseball teams, the Mets finally had some steam going, and then Matt Harvey goes and misses a year because of Tommy John surgery. That stuff truly sucks. So this year we have Madison Bumgarner. He's going to be out for a couple months. Might even miss more time than that. He might, depending on how the Giant season goes, because they're not off to a really hot start. He might miss the entire season. And I'm like, damn, that's rough. That's a guy who's got 3 World Series. He's been an intricate part in all 3 World Series. He was a World Series MVP. He's one of the greatest postseason runs ever. Not to mention that, just the fact, in the regular season, the man's 100 wins, 70 losses, and under 3 ERA. He's the second best pitcher in that division. That's only because Clayton Kershaw's not a human. But then I kept reading little ticker at the bottom, and I'm like, due to motorcycle accident, or dirt bike accident, I apologize. And I thought to myself, oh, someone's pissed. And it's not me. And it's not the fans. There's a reason why there's players who make millions of dollars. And there's so many rules and technicalities with these players outside of the sports they play in. Because there's these, in baseball's case, these 30 guys who owned the team who have to deal with the fact of, I've got millions upon millions upon millions of dollars invested in human beings, which, as someone who works with kids, human beings are not only unpredictable, they're usually pretty defiant to a good degree. Like, we just naturally are defiant. Even if you think you fall in line, you've got your, stick your middle finger to your boss mentality inside you. Like, I don't care who you are. Like, you have that. His boss, who pays him quite handsomely, had to get a call saying, hey, this guy you got to pay like $11 million this year? Well, he's not going to be there. Oh, what happened? He thought his arm pitching? Nah, he got on a dirt bike, crashed, no one around, So the guy who I've invested all this money in, who I've invested all this time in, took himself out, and I've still got to pay, they got to pay medical, they got to insure him, all that jazz. You know, Ben Roethlisberger did the same thing at the beginning of his career. And you know what his owner did the first time his contract came up again? Put a clause in his contract saying, you're not allowed to ride motorcycles anymore. And so many people are like, oh, that's unfair. He's got a right to do it. He's a person. You can't put someone down like that. Then don't work for them. The fact is, if you want this particular job, there's 30 guys hiring for this level of play. If you do something that goes against one of these 30 guys, you just won't have a job. It's really that simple. And the fact Madison Bumgarner put season, because now the owner who's got to talk to is, because the owner gets heat for this too, is the owner's got to sit there for people who have season tickets, people who bought tickets to games that Bumgarner was scheduled to pitch. They're pissed. And they're going to bring it to the owner. And the owner's got to deal with this. And yes, you could say, oh, well, he's got guys who sit there and filter his emails. He's got to pay those guys too. And they got to filter through a whole lot of angry emails. Whether you are an employee at Walmart, you are an employee, you are a CEO at a company, you are a professional athlete, or hell, if you are a professional porn star, we'll throw them in the mix too. Hate to leave them out. There is someone whose rules you got to adhere to. There is someone who is writing your check, is making sure you have food on the family for your, food on the table for your family. I'm a little tired, guys. So I'm normally always kind of sad for fans when they have that star player get injured. I have no sympathy for Madison Bumgarner. Sorry. I usually sympathize with the player that get hurt because most of the time players aren't trying to get hurt, and especially in baseball where you can throw at your arm any given pitch, normally feel kind of bad for them. I have no sympathy for Madison Bumgarner. It's just not in there for me. Sammy Soso. Never forget. All right. So we're going to go switch gears back to the NBA. And I've argued and complained about this on multiple times. And I'm going to continue arguing and complaining about it until finally, and I don't even know if I'm mad. I don't think I'm mad at the players or the team. I'm just mad at everybody. I'm mad at all the talking heads and just casual people that want to make these certain cases. And they completely ignore what someone else is doing. And yet they could be doing the exact same thing. LeBron and the Cavs swept the Pacers. Swept them. Cool. That's supposed to be as dominant as you get. You didn't let a team win a single game. Go you. You guys are great. They won those 4 games by 16 points. Total. The Warriors swept the Blazers. Outside of game 1, they didn't let a single game come within 16 points. And one of those games, they didn't play without Kevin Durant. One of those games, 2 of those games, they left their head coach at home. But it's okay because the Cavs showed they could flick the switch and they could beat any team when they need to. They showed that LeBron is that great that when he really needs to dial it up, he's going to get him there. Kyrie Irving, Kevin Love, their big 3, they're going to do it. That's why Kyrie Irving and Kevin Love got benched in game 3 because they were playing like crap. Okay. The Warriors get no credit for beating the Blazers because it's what they're supposed to do. They're just better than them. And I'd agree. then the Cavs shouldn't get any credit for beating the Pacers because they're just better than them, and that's what they're supposed to do. It was killing me. It's like game 2 and it was game 3. It was the comeback, and it's like people were like, "That's LeBron at his best. That's LeBron's greatness. Overcome a 25-point halftime deficit. Never been done in the history of the sport. Oh my gosh, you see how great he is." Why were you down 25 to a team that wasn't even 595% of the year? The Pacers snuck into the playoffs at 41 or 42-40. That's not a good record. This is not the same Indiana Pacers that were competing with the Miami Heat for the Eastern Conference Championship 5-6 years ago. This is a far less talented team. This team is nowhere near as good as that team was. But yet the headlines were LeBron continues dominance over the Pacers. So, like, if a team beats the Bulls, they get to say, yeah, I beat Michael Jordan's team. Yeah, I know he's 50 years old and not playing anymore, but damn it, I beat his team. I'm so over this. LeBron can flip the switch. LeBron's just gonna do it. The Cavs are just better than the other teams in the East. You know, if they are, then prove it. You don't prove it and say you flipped the switch because you beat a team by a total of 16 points over 4 games, which 2 of those games you could really make the case the Pacers should have won, and it should be a 2-2 series. And that's fine. I don't live in the what-if world. You know, Brady's got 5 rings. I don't care if Vinatieri kicked 2 field goals. You know, they could have missed, but they didn't. Take the reality of the world, which is it's 4-0. But I'm not impressed. I'm not impressed by LeBron James having the 20-some points in the second half. I'm not impressed with a 25-point comeback. I'm not impressed with the sweep. Is LeBron great? Yes. Are the Cavs good? Yes. They should run through the Eastern Conference. But right now it looks like it's going to be a slow, elderly walk. You ever seen your grandfather take that walk where you're like, damn, like you realize your grandfather's old? That's what the Cavs are doing right now. They're taking that slow, grandfatherly walk, and you're just like, they're not what they used to be. And I'm not, people are going to call me a hater, and I really don't care. Like, I just dropped a video on Sunday, and it's one of the greatness videos I'm doing. By the way, go check that out and put the link in the description. And it was on LeBron James. And LeBron James is truly greatness. Like I've said, I've not shied away from saying he's one of the 5 best players ever. He is this, that, and everything else. The man was built to play basketball. Like I'm tall, and you know everyone just associates it's like, oh, you're tall, you're supposed to play basketball. LeBron James, coming out of high school at 18, was like 6'8", 225 pounds, and ran like a 4.3 40. Humans aren't built like that. It's really even hard to, for those of you that play games, you can't even craft a character like that. Like, that is mythological. Jesus played favorites, and out came LeBron James. So, yeah, he should have swept the Pacers. And it shouldn't have been by 16 points. And they should have done more in the regular season. And it's okay. Because I'm going to stand by my original opinion. They're about to get blown out in the finals, and it's not even going to be close. And when LeBron walks off getting, I'm not going to say swept, but I'll give 4-1. Just remember, all of you that said LeBron's going to flip the switch and do it, if your 4 greatest games of your life were what it took for you to win last year, you're not repeating those 4 greatest games. Everyone's got high points. That was his high point. Gosh, now I feel bad. I almost felt like that turned into a rant towards the end, which wasn't my rant. My sophisticated, ignorant opinion of sorts. Adrian Peterson signed with the New Orleans Saints for 2 years, $7 million. He had a deal initially with the Vikings where this year was going to pay him $18 million over his final year of his contract. Or I believe there's a player option to go beyond that. And all I heard today was it's desperate. AP's not that great anymore. And I'm like, okay, I get that. Is he what he was No, probably not. He's 32. He's taking some hits. Okay, that makes sense. And they need headlines. Then I heard people the second half of the day get on this Adrian Peterson is overrated bandwagon. And boy, did I almost lose it. Like, Adrian Peterson will get a greatness video at some point. Don't get me wrong. I plan on doing a bunch of those. They're really fun. I like doing them. They're, like I said, he will get one because he has been nothing short of greatness. People talk about Ezekiel Elliott. People are going to talk about Leonard Fournette coming out this year. People are going to talk about, every year there's just big running backs to come out of the draft. People talk about them. The last great running back to come out of the draft and prove it is Adrian Peterson. The best running back in football from about 2002 to 2008. As much as I hate to say it, was LaDainian Tomlinson. Just was. I'm a Bronco fan. He pushed up their ass and kept shoving for about 6-7 years, and it was really annoying. Like, I there's only like two players that I would ever say like I just like kind of hate, just simply from a rivalry perspective, and it's LT and Antonio Gates. Like, I just literally, when Antonio Gates retires, like, I will be such a happier and a much more calm human being. That to me is undeniable. LT's getting the Hall of Fame this year. Congratulations. He's not playing anymore. F him. His team's in LA. One of the things people wanted to keep getting on Adrian Peterson for is like, oh, well, only the one playoff win and he fumbles too much. Okay, let's look at that. And that he was not efficient enough with his carries. Let's look at those. I will give you, in 2007, he fumbled 4 times. Okay, he was a rookie. 2008, he fumbled 9 times. And in 2009, he fumbled 6 times. That's a problem. 100%. You're right. Let's look at the efficiency. 5.6, 4.8, 4.4. So if you hand him the ball 3 times, you get you a first down, which is what you're supposed to do. Okay. So efficiency he's got. And I believe the 5.6 that year was second in the league, only 2 LT. My Vikings didn't make the playoffs. They weren't supposed to. They weren't that good. I mean, Tavares Jackson was his quarterback. You only go so far in this world with Tavares Jackson. In 2009, that offseason, AP, who, not that he hadn't worked at it before, but he made it a goal. And he worked with some Hall of Famers, different trainers. He's like, I'm going to hold on to this football. He then went the next 4 years fumbling once, and then 3 times, twice. That's really good. Let's look at his efficiency over those 4 years. 4.6, a 4.7, 6, and 4.5. 6th of the league, the 4.6 and 4.5, so consistently put him in the top 5 in average. Oh, let's not forget that in 2012, the man rushed for 2,097 yards. Let's not forget the fact of every single season he's played, where he has played a legitimate amount of games, he has been in double-digit touchdowns. 12, 10, 18, 12, 12, 10, and 11. He's not the same guy anymore. Well, yeah, because the man's tore his ACL twice, which, as a human being, you're not supposed to come back from. But he did it. He came back the next year, had 1,485 yards, a 4.5 average, and 11 touchdowns, and was the comeback player of the year. Deservedly so. The only thing that you could get him on is the playoff wins. But this isn't the NBA. This isn't Major League Baseball. You can't just pay guys enough and be like, hey, in baseball, you can just literally throw enough money at your team. It's like, hey, go get me a ring. Doesn't always work, but it works far more than the other 2 sports. In the NBA, 1 or 2 guys can carry you to a title. In football, you can't do that. And like I said, the man went from Tavares Jackson to 40 and 41-year-old Brett Favre to 2 early years of Teddy Bridgewater, and then Sam Bradford was his quarterback this year. I don't know about you guys, but if I'm making a list of really good quarterbacks outside of Favre, the other 3 really just don't make it. And I like Teddy Bridgewater, but he's also torn his ACL twice now, which maybe that's just a thing in Minnesota. They all tear their ACLs. Maybe that's a tradition. Adrian Peterson for his career is over 11,000 yards. And he's going to get to 12, even if he only plays part-time in New Orleans. He's got 97 touchdowns. He's going to get over 100. This man is a full-fledged Hall of Fame running back who's missed 2 of his last 3 years, which you could then make the case because he's missed 2 of his last 3 years. He's only played 8 years in the league. And that's far less than playing 10. And so he's only played 7 years in the league compared to the 9 because he's missed the 2. How anyone can call Adrian Peterson overrated, I'll give you the fumbling in the beginning of his career, but he got it fixed. The man's just great. And the fact of it, I'm sorry, if you're going to call the numbers he's put up and the career he's put up, if that's overrated, then you got to kick out like 60% of the league because they're fucking bums. If Adrian Peterson is what we're defining as overrated, like, kick everyone else out that league. Because every great running back that's been drafted since then, Chris Johnson, burned out long before Peterson did. DeMarco Murray, he's salvaging himself at the moment. Who were the great backs when he broke into the league? LT, Larry Johnson, Sean Alexander, they're gone. The only guy who's just contemporary kind of is Marshawn Lynch, and Marshawn Lynch only really has a 4-year peak run. If Adrian Peterson's overrated, the rest of the league are bums. It's that simple. Thank you guys. Once again, any kind of word of mouth, Facebook, Snapchat, Instagram, Twitter. I'm finally learning how to use Twitter. I'm getting a little bit better at it. Not really. I need help from you guys. Like I said, I'm going to post a link for the greatness videos in the bottom. I've got LeBron out right now, Kobe. I've got another one that's going to be coming out. I'm looking right now at Friday or Saturday as one of my release times. And yeah. Sorry, I've been laughing a lot today. But thank you guys once again. Like the video, comment if it's something you want me to talk about, or if you just think I'm wrong. I got a lot of heat for the Kyrie Irving. I responded. I haven't gotten responses back from my response, so I don't know if the 5.6 assist, about 5.5 guys have gone away. But if you feel like I said something wrong, or you just want me to talk about something, please comment down in the comment section. I will never turn down a comment. I read all of them. I don't get that many, so it's no problem to read all of them. And hope you guys have a wonderful day. Peace out. AP for life.